Let us go into that place within ourselves where we recognize life as it truly is, how beautiful it is. Where hope and gratitude resides always within an eternal flame of goodness. It's our true self, our real self, our eternal existence. And then we come into incarnated form and we're living a life on earth. And it seems like sometimes there's these little things that want to get our attention. Gnats. Just grabbing our attention. Pay attention. Pay attention. Be disturbed. Be depressed. Be discontent. And yet within us, the infinite lies within silent repose. So take a deep breath and relax into this moment. And let it be. And so it is. All right, beloveds, it's good to have you here. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. So this is an auspicious day. For one, I got to sleep in an extra hour. My husband, unfortunately, got up early, wondered why I wasn't getting up. Finally occurred to him. And then when I did get up, he said, "Oh yeah, I remember this is your favorite Sunday of the year because you get an extra hour." Like, the time people taketh and the time people giveth away and whatever, I don't know. It goes like, anyway, so that hour that was taken, we got it back, and it was really wonderful, and I'm very grateful. But this is another reason this is an auspicious day. If this room were filled with people, and thank you, by the way, for inviting us into your room, or your walk, or whatever you're doing. Thank you for inviting us into your iPad, iPhone, other wonderful device, computer, big screen TV. How do I look on the big screen TV anyway? But however you have invited us into your life, thank you so much. And I want to tell you why this is also another auspicious day. Oh, besides the blue moon last night. Oh, whoa, huffa. That was gorgeous. And then it's Halloween. Well, anyway, so why is this an auspicious day? Because if this room were filled with people, we would be inviting people to participate in the well-being of this center. This was called, a long time ago, Commitment Sunday, where people would fill out cards that look like this. Remember paper? And it is an intentional giving card, and people would be filling this out during the service and then bringing them forward. We have only one visitor today, and she's already pledged. But all of these lights that are here are just a symbol of the people who have already come forward and already said, "I'm in," already have said, "This is my spiritual community, and I am willing to support that which supports me." So we would love to add to these lights during this service. And we have last service. We started out this morning with 192 people who had made a commitment to give in the next year, in 2021, an intentional giving. I intend to give. And they let us know what they intend to give so we can do good budgeting. But as of the end of that service, we went from 192 to 207, which is wonderful. Our goal, though, is about 290. It would seem fun to have 100 people say today, "This is my spiritual community. I think it's important to me and to the world." And there's ways that you can make that commitment. You can email pledge@spiritualliving.org or call the office, 206-527-8801. I know those. The people are waiting to take your pledge. I don't think it's unusual or unrealistic to ask for 100 more pledges today. What we know is that about 1,000 people watch our services during the week, Sunday and the Wednesday Faith Lift. And so I think it's possible. Out of that 1,000, I'm thinking, 10%. Why not? And maybe you're it. Just see. Check your heart. Not as in it might be faulty, but see what your heart says. If you feel called to be a part of this community, that would be really wonderful. But right now, we're going to have a song, and this is sort of like the blasts from the past, the best of CSL Choir Music Day. Here's another song.
Jehovah Jireh, my provider, you are more than enough for me. Jehovah Rapha, you're my healer. In this love, I have been set free. Jehovah Shammah, you are with me, and you supply all of my needs. You are more than enough, more than enough. You are more than enough. and you are. Oh, more than enough. So much more than enough. Oh, more than enough. So much more than enough. You are more than enough for me. You are more than enough for me. For me.
Wild applause, wild applause. Woo! That was a day. Well, today, my talk title is Prayer, Action, and Commitment. But first, I want to share with you something that I put on my Facebook page a few days ago. What I said was 2020 has been my call to prayer. See, I could either have cried, bitched, shut down, or prayed, and I chose to pray. By the way, a long time ago, well, not a long time ago, but before 2020, I had some T-shirts made, and I used to wear them at the office, and people actually kind of liked them. Paul Ramey got one, and the T-shirt said, "Pray more, bitch less." And I gotta pull those T-shirts out. I know they're in my drawer somewhere. It's like, this is the perfect year to wear that T-shirt as a reminder to myself. And maybe I already got the message, because I've noticed that those gnats, remember those things I talk about? There's things that I want to say, no, 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 I hate it, and then it's like, no, pray more. We can either be distracted by conditions and situations, or we can have that as a call to pray more, to go back to our source, to connect with our source once again. So I want to tell you a little bit about how I pray. I've changed, not changed recently, but I've matured in the way that I pray. And I actually shared this with my group of people that I send out thoughts to sleep on. I send out a message every night at 8 o'clock. In fact, I was in a meeting recently, and everyone's cell phone went off at the same time, and it's, oh yeah, it's Kathianne calling us. Yeah, I'm calling you. By the way, you can also be part of these calls if you choose. They're free. Just send your request to info@spiritualliving.org, and we'll sign you up. But anyway, I was telling the people on this call, and it's a very short little message, but I wanted to share my revelation that I had that morning, because I felt compelled, I wanted to pray for an outcome to the elections that are happening. I was like really close to like praying, God, would you just let this happen? And then I realized God doesn't do that. See, if God did that, we could be praying for our favorite football team, or our favorite basketball team, or pretty soon hockey team. But God doesn't play favorites. You can pray all you want. It's not going to change the outcome. Your prayers will not change the outcome, because God does not play favorites. And I caught myself and realized that's not how I can pray. And then what I heard was, pray that love wins. It's not a person, place. It's not an initiative. All those things that are on the ballot is that pray that love wins. See, the interesting thing about love is that it cares. Love cares. Love embraces, and in love you belong. And it includes, love encompasses. I think I learned about love from my granny. All my cousins loved Granny. I loved Granny. They loved Granny. When she made her transition, when we were having the funeral and I was with all my cousins, all they could talk about is how much they loved Granny. I mean, she was love, she was sweetness, she was inclusive. And I remember no matter what I did and no matter how I was disciplined or told that wasn't right, she could love me and let me know that I was loved, even if the behavior that I had exhibited wasn't really sociably acceptable, like don't hit your sister. I was loved. Nothing could keep that love away from me. My grandmother hovered over me, embraced me, and I knew that in her presence I was loved. And she went out of her way to continually show love. So she didn't just love, she did what she could to show love. So for every one of my cousins and myself, if we went to see her, she would have prepared our favorite food. For my sister, it was peach pie. For me, it was brownies. So if I showed up and my sister showed up, there'd be a peach pie in the oven along with brownies, and the smell in the house was wonderful. That's love. I pray love wins. I'm teaching a class called Mental Equivalence. And a mental equivalent is an internal experience of what's normal for us. And then the law of cause and effect, works through that mental equivalence, works through that consciousness to support what we think is normal so it stays normal or the same. Now that works on an individual level, and it also works on a cultural, social level. It works, unfortunately, for groups of people. And what I'm looking at in our country right now, nationally, what is normal is that this country has made it normal to disagree. We've made it normal to not cooperate. We've made it normal to become more and more separated and divisional and then point fingers at each other. It seems like hate is more normal than cooperation and love. I pray that love wins. Because if we do not pray that love wins, if we don't become a place where love is, if we don't make love normal in our life, it does not matter who wins any election. We will still have the same condition and then blame it on another person. So let's pray that love wins. But love, as a sentiment, as a feeling, isn't enough. It has to be moved into action, like with my granny making me brownies or peach pie for my sister. See, when you love, you look for ways to contribute because love gives. I know some people are contributing through letter writing, and the Create a Better World Committee is just an amazing group of people in our center who are looking for ways to be givers, even in the confines of a COVID environment. We can't do what we used to do, but they're looking for ways to continue to make sure that this center and the people in it and the volunteers in it are contributing to the well-being of others. Because love will call us into action. I'm still impressed by a woman, Ann Masterson, and I'm looking over here because it helps me with the memory. Back in the old sanctuary, not the celebration hall, but the old sanctuary. It was about the size of this, maybe a little longer. And this is where the prayer practitioners would sit over on the side. And they'd sit there, and people always wondered, what are they doing? What's holding consciousness mean anyway? And they'd be sitting there, and I remember Anne, as a practitioner, told the story of her car being broken into and her newly bought winter coat being stolen. And she felt how cold it was to not have a winter coat and how desperate that person must have been to get a winter coat. So she started a coat drive. And we've had a coat drive ever since. And I've contributed to that coat drive ever since. One of the biggest joys I get is seeing how great a coat I can get for the price. Like, now that's real hunting and gathering. I love it. And we will continue to do things like that, even though I'm not sure that people want to accept coats that I breathed all over. I don't know how we'll do it, but we will do it because love must win, and love gives and contributes. One of the things I do, maybe because my grandmother was always making sure that I had the food I really wanted, is that in my charitable giving, I give to organizations that feed people. Because an empty stomach is not a good thing. Love gives. Love gives. So I said we need to pray, said we need action, and we also need commitment. And this is where a lot of things get sticky, is the commitment part. See, I can get you all jazzed up. You know, there are people that do that. And then afterwards, it's like, I felt really good. It's not my style. I know that the divine being within you knows the power of commitment. But the human personality gets all caught up in the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. Now let's just start with ugly. One of the definitions of commitment is to consign someone to a mental institution. It's an ugly definition, but it's there. It can make us hesitant to commit. And by the way, I know people have commitment issues because there's a whole lot of really desirable, fabulous people who want a relationship, and I know that deep down inside, the reason they don't have it is they have a fear of commitment. And it could be the definition, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Ugly, consignment to a mental institution. I don't think you really fall into that too much, but I bet a lot of people fall into the bad definition, the ugly as confinement, the bad as obligation that restricts freedom. That's a definition out of the dictionary. Obligation that restricts freedom, and people want their freedom, especially in the United States. Don't you make me wear a mask. I want my freedom. Don't you tell me what to do. I want my freedom. Don't tell me not to get too close. Don't tell me not to be with people. Don't tell me to stay away. Don't tell me to be 6 feet apart. I want my freedom. It's a big deal in the United States. But it can be a bad definition if that freedom hinders someone else, because that's not love. Love looks out for others. Love looks out for others. And then there's the good definition. It means a dedication to a person or cause. The good definition of commitment is dedication. And when we move into that definition and we move into that kind of commitment, we are moving into an involvement with God, and God gets involved with our life, and the commitment carries us through things that we didn't think we could do. I have been dedicated to my spiritual growth, and I've been dedicated to my ministry, and it's that commitment and that dedication that has allowed me to do things that I didn't think I could do. There were so many times that I wanted to either fight or flee or freeze. But because I'm dedicated to being used by God for purposes greater than myself, somehow I would come up with the answers and we would move through. Commitment is power, and so many people neglect that power because they fear commitment. So can we stay dedicated to that which we say we care about? Commitment actually produces more freedom because commitment limits our choices and therefore gives us clear direction that we can freely follow with impulsion. When we commit to a priority, action becomes clear and easier. One of the things I just said is that I am committed to my spiritual growth, and I want to express as much of the divine as I can at any given time. I want to express the divine at any given time. See, some people get into this teaching or any teaching, personal growth teaching, surface level spirituality teaching, and they think that God is something that they can get something from. Yes, God is the support, it is the sustainer, it is the source of all good that manifests through creation. It is all of that. But we cannot dummy God down to it being nothing more than the cosmic vending machine or the cosmic slot machine that if you just do those affirmations enough, something good's going to happen. Maybe not. See, that's very immature spirituality, and you're watching this because you're ready to leave immature spirituality. See, when we move into mature spirituality, we allow God to be the place that shows up in us. We become the place where God expresses. We become the place that all that we say of God is made real in the world. The Sanskrit word for man, but we would call it humankind, meant to dispense. So if you've seen those things where they're like this, it's like the human takes in what is divine, makes real within themselves, and brings it into the earth. Makes it real on earth. That is perhaps the divine reason for humankind to show up on this planet. So what happens then is when we're doing this is that if we make that decision to be that kind of person in the world, 2020 can become a test. It becomes a place of, what am I committed to? How does God vote? How does the divine know perfect health, because I know my perfect health, and still respect the rights and the well-being of others by doing what science tells me to do, which is wear a mask and stay 6 feet apart? How does the divine show up as financial stability within myself when the economy is wonky? How does the divine say something is wrong when people will put on a spiritual mask and say, it's all God, it's all good, you're just afraid? Because I know that one of the hardest things to sometimes do is to talk to people that have a good vocabulary in metaphysics. It's kind of like sometimes having to talk to people that have a great vocabulary in the Bible. They can Bible thump their way through things, and so can some metaphysicians. So these are not questions I'm going to answer. They're not for me to answer for you. They're for me to encourage you to grapple with and find your own answer, because that's where your power is. Are you committed to knowing what's true for you from the inside out? And remember, God's truth and God's good has to bless everyone. It has to be inclusive, like my granny. I think some of these questions I've had to ask myself are like Zen koans. And a Zen koan is a practice of grappling with a question that doesn't seem to have an answer. Like, what is the sound of one hand clapping? You know, I grappled with that for a long time. I don't even know the answer, but all of a sudden it made sense. I had a kind of a breakthrough. See, if you grapple with questions that really disturb your soul, eventually you have a breakthrough. You break through into a greater truth. It's not given to you. You break through into a greater realization of who you are. A greater realization of you and God as one. Nobody can tell you that. You have to experience that. This is where commitment comes in, because it'll be easy to take somebody else's answer for those questions. Are you committed to listening to God or others? Those gnats. 2020 has brought me so much closer to my God because I've had to look at that stuff. Now, this is how I see the work of the Center for Spiritual Living. I see the work first as comforting. We have prayer practitioners who will pray with you. We have prayer practitioners that will answer your prayer distress, your reaching out 24/7. We're here to comfort. We have a group that will comfort you if you're sick. We have a group that will comfort you by just being a listening ear. We are here to comfort. We are also here to inspire. We are here to inspire people to look for spiritual solutions to human and world issues. We're here to teach tools of spiritual empowerment so that you find your own power and your own grace and your own freedom in the midst of commitment. We are here to companion lovers of God in the inward journey of asking deep questions that lead to spiritual revelation. True transformation comes from spiritual revelation. Transformation, shifting totally, comes from spiritual revelation, not a quick fix. Ernest Holmes talked about that in the Beverly Hills Lectures. He said, so many people, even my prayer practitioners, he said, even my prayer practitioners, 90% of them want a fix. They want the pain to go away. They want the issue to seem like it might be okay. They want this to happen so they're no longer in discomfort. And he said, instead, they could have had a spiritual revelation by going deep into God. What's this mean for me? A revelation will create a transformation, and you're no longer dealing with that stuff. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Otherwise, it's fix after fix after fix after fix after fix. That's shifting our mental equivalents. Oh, it's hard, honey. I know it's hard. I mean, I can feel it. I have heard so many people say, but how can I not hate this? And how can I not be against this? You got to ask your God. Because I can say things, but they're only my answer. You got to find your answer. And when you find your answer, you will find a peace that passes understanding. And it's the pearl of great price. I'm committed to this work, and I need your help. Remember at the first of the service I said that we had all of 2007 people that had committed to 2021. Well, what I can tell you is we're going to have a balanced budget. But to do so and not decrease services, we need your support. We need the support of a lot of people. Out of those 1,000 people that watch every week, we need more people to say, I'm in. This is the place I'm fed. This is the place I've found comfort. This is the place I've been inspired. This is the place I've been empowered, and this is the place I am companioned into a greater realization of my spiritual self. So we're grateful for all the gifts, and we have a new total, but I'm still not finished asking. We are now up to 215. Thank you very much. While I was talking, now I'm asking. I'm asking you to consider, what does this place mean to you? We're grateful for all the gifts. But would you feel comfortable moving into a commitment with us? Because we're committed to you. I cannot tell you the ways that we have tried to figure out ways to embrace and empower during this thing called COVID. The upgrades that have happened so that we can still be viable in your life. We've increased our viewership, is what I've said, and we've increased ways that we can be on the phone or whatever, and we intend to continue because of our commitment. Now, take a moment and silently pray. What is my participation in this place called the Center for Spiritual Living? And if this place speaks to your heart, and there's something about this that you love, I encourage you to take action and make a commitment through an intentional giving statement. I intend to give. Thank you for your consideration.
I used to think God was the sun, God is the sun. But God's so much more than the earth or the stars or all of creation. God is creator, all in all, needing us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Command my hands, what must they do? Command my life, it's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new, and God needs us to shine its light as me, as you. I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do